Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Board Game Specialist. We are on our episode 56, and I am Melanie.
I'm Carla.
In this episode, we're going to be doing a review of the Carla Con. I'm calling it Carla Con. You didn't really officially call it that.
We didn't kind of really name it. It was
a nameless event.
It was going to be Car Treat because it was like more of a retreat, but I haven't officially stamped that as the name. Because we'll be trying to do it again, so we'll think of a name. But
it was neat. So it was Saturday, Sunday at your restaurant. So all the meals were provided, and then there was all the tables, and then you had a lot of scheduled games as well. I ended up missing a big chunk of Sunday, most of Sunday, because that was my last Sunday. But then that was my last Sunday. I'm never going to work Saturdays. Saturday. I keep saying Sunday.
Yeah.
My last Saturday, and I'm never going to work a Saturday again. So that's exciting. So unfortunately, I missed part of Saturday. But then we had all Sunday, and it was great. So before we kind of get started on all that, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. Like, how was it planning it?
The planning was, I'd say the actual planning was quite easy, just because I had a vision of what I want to do, and we have a restaurant, so serving people is kind of just something simple for us, but just because we plan that kind of thing every day. Now I think one of the tricky parts was the planning the games, because Ashley helped a lot with that. She set up the Warhorn site, so it had all the games that you could enter to play, and then the teachers. Now we'd had a bunch out for a while, and if no one signed up, we'd pull them off and put another one up. So she did all the work with that, which we were going to just do manually, and she's like, I'm just going to do this. And I'm like, thank God, because I am not
that was so, made it so official, and then just easy to kind of decide what you wanted to do and see who was already there, and it makes sense.
Yeah, and it was free. Like, you didn't have to pay for any of that. So
really?
I had thought that was like a big charge, because I thought, just for a smaller convention, there was only like just under 30 of us, that I didn't want to have a big, fee for the game sign up and all that. So, so she did all that and rearranged things for people who, they really wanted to get in this game. So she did a lot of work for that. Like, that was all.
Yeah, for sure.
I would just say, okay, add this game, please. Or this person there's no one signed up. Let's take that one off. So she kind of did that.
So total, how many scheduled games did you end up with?
Oh, geez. I don't have my list with me, but we had at least in each time slot 4 or 5, of hosted games, teach games. Yeah. We also had open tables. We had at least 5, and we had 4 slots on Saturday, and then 2 on Sunday. So at least 30. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's impressive.
At some slots we only had 4, but around 25, 30 that we had signed up. And there was a couple where we did twice. Like, I did Wayfarers twice, and she did Amsterdam twice. So there was a few that filled up right away, and others were requesting to get in them. So, but yeah, that worked really well. And then if we had some openings and people were just kind of sitting around, because some people didn't sign up for games, then we're like, we got a spot here, and so they jump in, and it all worked out really good that way. We didn't have any game left that no one was playing, so that worked really good. Yeah.
That was great.
The food did end up being a little more than I thought, just because I had to get everyone's order, and then it was just a little bit more than I had expected, but I have a plan for next time that would probably make it a little bit easier. But
I guess first event, right? It's your learning event.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they had Cherry help me serve all the food. She did, she was my right hand man there, just, take it this and this, because we just served the food. I didn't have a server in there because we were basically just, bringing out the plates, and that's it. So she did all that. And after, it was funny. She's like, I really liked doing that. It's like I was kind of playing restaurant. I'm like, you can come and do that anytime you want.
Anytime you want to play.
Yeah. But I was glad she said that, because I thought, gee, she's going to really regret helping me. But she actually really enjoyed it. So it worked out.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Perfect. So before we get started on the games we've played at CarlaCon, I'm just going to call it that. What have you been playing lately?
So a couple days after the convention, I came down with a flu. And so I've kind of been home a lot and staying away from people. But I can't just do nothing. I'm one person who can't sleep when I'm sick. I wish I could. Like I'm so tired and I lay there and I can't sleep. So I started playing some of my like puzzly games, my mystery puzzly games. And one that I'm playing right now it's like a 6 series. It's called Detective Society, The Cursed Exhibition. And so this is, it's a mystery that you get in 6 sections. And normally it's a subscription. You'd get one a month, I believe. I've never ordered from them because they're from, I think they're in the UK. Well, they are in the UK. But it's quite expensive to get here because with the shipping of each month and then the exchange, it's quite high. So I bought this used from a guy in Canada who sent me a whole bunch that I just can't wait to dig into. But anyway, So I started on one, and it's a mix of like you get documents and kind of like puzzles in there, and then you use a lot of the internet, and you'll go on and do all kinds of different things, talk to different people, and you're texting people and they're texting you back. It's so weird how they can, computerize this where they'll answer you. Obviously there's not a person there, but it's all computerized, right? And you have to go on to dating sites. You have to go on to like coffee card. This one time we had to like hack into the guy's coffee card account and then to find something. We've had to do all kinds of things, and it's so neat. And I would recommend, if you're going to do this, it's probably not best to do it by yourself because you really need someone to, bounce things off of. But I've been kind of doing with this guy had done a whole series of it on YouTube. So I'm kind of just following along with him. So I just sort of start doing mine, and then as he gets to a point where I'm like, oh, okay, stop. And then I'll start to figure stuff out, and then I'll keep playing. So I kind of feel like I'm playing with this guy who did on
he's playing video. With you.
Yeah. He's hilarious. He's from the UK as well. And I can't think of the name of it now because I just have it on my, running on my YouTube thing. But anyway, so it's really interesting. And a lot of websites and things where I technically wouldn't want to do that by myself. I like to play those kind of games like with other people. Like, for example, the second game I didn't talk about, I played with my son last night, and he's very techie and tech savvy. So we played this one called, but you didn't really need it for this one, but it's called Escape the Crate. So these are another subscription one that we did. So you get this box, and it's like an escape room, this one. So you open this box, and the whole box on the inside, outside, underneath, in the flaps is like things you're going to need. And it's pictures all around it. And then you have papers in the box, and you lay these papers out in certain ways that they want you to. And then you go through this story. And so the story is on YouTube, whatever, that you just keep clicking on, and you have to get through different things. Well, this one was called The Fountain of Youth. So we were trying to get to this fountain where this woman is trying to steal all this water so that she can sell it, bottle it up and sell it, because it makes you young again. And it can make you so young again, right, to a baby. But so you're kind of going through this swamp, and you're trying to find this fountain of youth. And then once you get there, she's there, and then you're trying to like basically arrest her, trying to get cops there, and all kinds of different things. But it's really neat because the papers that you use, so you get a whole bunch of different papers and postcards and things in there, and then it tells you how to lay them out. So for each phase that you're doing, you use those type of cards, and then the next phase it'll say, okay, flip this one. So then you have a whole other scene. Like what they've done with the box and the papers and cards is unique. I've never seen it done before. You have to it's all different puzzles as well that you're trying to figure out and put together. There's a really nice hint system that'll just take you like baby steps. So if you just need like one little thing, usually like we've gotten through the first part and then we're like kind of stuck. And so then you can click on one and it kind of helps you, and then you can keep going. And the story's it's a bit cheesy, but it was really neat. And yeah, my son's really good at these kind of games too. So it was fun trying that with him. But those are the two that I've been doing. There was a couple others, but I'll talk about them another time. So what about you? What have you been playing?
So we played Blackout Hong Kong. Got it off the shelf of shame. I own this game for quite a while, and it's one that sounded interesting. And I bought it from secondhand for someone on Facebook, and it's been sitting on my shelf since, I want to say, a year and a bit. Like, it was in the summertime, I want to say. So it's been a long time. And then we were going to play a game, and Lee was like, well, how about this one? And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then I had opened it up and kind of looked at the setup before, but I hadn't played it. And actually, this is one of those games that is so well depicted. Like, the board shows what you need to do. Like, and all the information you need is right there on the board. And each, like, so you got the map on the main board, and then you also have your player board, and then you're going to be moving the first player marker when you're first player up each step, and then the step tells you what to do, and the board kind of shows you what you have access to for that step. And it's neat. So Hong Kong is in a power outage, and things are kind of becoming chaotic quickly because it's such a big city to have no power. So you're kind of a group of volunteers and specialists trying to deal with this, is kind of the story behind it. And then you got cards that you'll be putting down on the bottom, and you put them down face down, and then you'll flip them up. Then you have this rondelle that you'll roll the dice, and you have to roll the dice till you have 3 different icons. And those are the and there's 3 different colored dice, and those are going to be the resources. So if you put a card that has 2 yellow cube, you would activate and get 2 of the yellow resources, whatever that resource is this round. Now, you can always kind of manipulate the resources with your truck to move them one space over to kind of change the type of resource that they are. And then, so you'll be doing that, kind of playing the cards to activate the resources, so you have those. And then you'll be kind of going and acquiring new cards to add to your objective, which is cards of things you're trying to accomplish. And then you'll have your objective cards. And then you'll have some that's the volunteers and the specialists. And if you do the objective on the bottom, you get to take that card and add it to your hand so that you can activate their main action on the bottom of the board. You play a board next. But the whole thing is so neat. It works so well. Like, I was really blown away at how good this game was when we were playing it. And then you're putting your cubes on the map, trying to create and kind of control these sectors. And then you're going to score on that. So you kind of keep going until you run out of cards. And then you go one more round. Excuse me. And then it's whoever has the most points. And you kind of tally up all your points. Your resources are going to be worth points. Your money is going to be worth points. All the cards you've been accumulating, some are worth points. And it's really neat. I really, really enjoy that. And now it's Table Hog. It takes a lot of space to set it all up, but that was a really great game. So that was Blackout Hong Kong. You've played this one, Carla.
So what did you? Yeah, I really like it. I feel like this is an underrated game too. Me and Cherry played this a lot. Not recently, but we done the whole campaign of it. And
oh yes, because there's a campaign you can do. We just did a one-time play, so yeah,
it's really good. I like the card programming. Typically don't like that as a mechanic, but that one's also used in his Mombasa and his new one, Skylines. So that is the really thinky, because you're like, okay, I want these all here, but I need to have some in my hand, and they're not going to be. I'm not going to grab that pile for a while. So how am I going to get this here but I need it next time? It's very. The programming part is very thinky, and then there's a little area control, and then the dice, keeping your little cubes out there to have the things you need. It's really
neat. It was neat.
It's a really cool game. Good one. And what's your second one?
Now, the second one I played is a new one that I purchased, and I bought it because it was from Yellow, and I like the Yellow games. They always make games with great components. So I was like, okay, great, let's give this one a try, and it's called The Mysterious Forest. And there's a lot of great things. The box is has a magnet lid that kind of holds it closed, and then you just kind of open it up like a book. The artwork is just gorgeous. And then you have these cards in there, and it's the great big tarot size cards, and I love that. And then you have this little kind of color figurine. It's like this little guy with a wooden sword. And you have all these tokens, and then you have the board, which is, excuse me, which is a backpack. And the way that it plays is you kind of set up this lineup of cards, and then you kind of go flipping one card at a time and then flipping it back quickly. So you kind of see what all the symbols are on the bottom. And then you go through and collecting what you'll need for your adventure. And you roll the dice, and it'll be like 3 dice, and you need to decide, I don't know, is it 3 or 4 dice? But anyways, I think it's 4 dice. But then you decide 2 of them you're going to put in your backpack. And you're collecting all these resources. And it's a memory game. You're trying to collect the resources that you need for the symbol you've seen on the cards. And then once you've filled up your backpack, you go through the cards, you flip them over, and you pull out what you need out of the backpack as you keep going. Now, this might sound very simple and childish, I guess, a little bit. That's because it is. This is a game that is definitely intended for a younger audience. The components are really neat, though, and all that, but this one is not going to stay in my collection. No. Me and Patrick played it. We're like looking at each other like, oh my god, this is like a kid's game. But, I mean, like, so yeah, with a really younger audience, this would be really neat. Me and Patrick, we just kind of played it, beat it, and we're like, what did we do? I didn't pay attention. It does say age 6 and up. Mm-hmm. And I had a friend pick it up just from a picture, but I was like, oh, yellow makes great games, and the artwork and the game look great, so I had to pick it up. But yeah, if I had grandkids, which I don't, so this one will probably get donated to the library. But I mean, like, if you have a younger audience, this is a neat game for that. It's definitely better than Candyland. But if you have a household full of teenagers, yeah, this is probably not a game you'd play very often. Mm-hmm. Perfect. So now we're going to get started with our list. Now, because I missed part of the CarlaCon and you were busy teaching, instead of a top 9, we're actually doing a top 7. So Carla, let's get started. What's your number 7?
Yeah, so I did, I was involved in more games, but the only ones I played were 7 this time, because I was teaching almost in every block, but some of the ones I taught, I also got to play. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I think we almost play this at every convention now, and it's called Color Addict, made it in 2009 by Nicholas Bernard. They pulled this one out, can't remember what time of day, Saturday, and I jumped in a game, I think I was just teaching, and they were well on their way, so I jumped over and played a game, and then, would kind of go back and forth. This one is just a simple game, but it's just like a speed game, basically. And you have this, everybody has a stack of cards, and you pick up 3. And on the cards, you're going to have a word. It's going to be a color. So it might say green, but the print might be in purple. So if I say the card on the table right now is green, and this one says green, I can put it down. If it's the color green, I can put it down. But there's also this splotch in the middle of a different color that's just to throw you off. Now you're to ignore that blotch, which is very hard, because that's the first thing you look at is the big splotch in the middle, right? So then a lot of people just lay that down. You're like, no, that has nothing to do with it. It's the word or the color of the word. So it really makes your brain have to get into a different mode. Once you get in there, you just fly by with these cards and you just throw them down, and it's so fun, and it's such a race because it's the first one who can finish their deck. And so people are standing by the end. You have a few cards left, and you're just playing them, and all of a sudden you get 4 in a row, boom, 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 and then you're done or whatever. And it's just so fun, and it's a good one that we play to wake up as well, kind of usually on a Saturday around 8 or something. We've played a few heavy games, and we're just oh, so tired, but we want to, carry on and finish the night. We'll open a game like this and play it just to kind of wake back up. But yeah, it's fun. And then we did play this Sunday morning again, because we all came and set up Sunday morning, and we were kind of finished early before everyone came. And I'm like, okay, let's play a couple of rounds of this to really get our heart racing. So that's my number 7, Color Addict.
Yeah, actually, that's my number 7 as well. Color Addict,
really?
Published in 2009 by Nicholas Bernard. I don't know whose bright idea is like, oh, everybody's tired and not quite awake yet and able to concentrate.
Oh yeah, Sunday morning.
This game. Yeah, Sunday morning. It's funny. Our friend Travis was there too, and he sat down and then he's like, nope. He got up and he left, and he's like, not this morning.
It's so
this
funny.
one is just like,
yeah, it's funny to watch someone play it for the first time because they're just like, what is going on here?
Honestly, the first time I have like a card in my hand and I don't think I played a single card. And it's like, oh, the game's over. And I'm like, what? So, yeah, no, but definitely, I see what you mean. Like, this is definitely one that you got to pay attention and get going. And it's a speed game. It is a speed game. And you kind of like, so I could see how it would wake you up if you're engaged enough to start. So, number 7, Color Addict.
My number 6 is a new one to me, and apparently this game isn't coming to America, but it's made by Matthias Kramer, so I find that weird. It's called Swindler, and it's made this past year in 2022. Now, a friend of yours that came to our convention, we got to meet Sasha, I think you say his name.
Yeah.
He had went to Essen, I believe, right? And he had brought this back, and he had said, yeah, they're not bringing it over here. I'm like, I thought Matthias Kramer was from the States, but maybe I'm wrong. So anyway, it's just a push your luck game. So it's about, you are all pickpockets. And you're basically, you have some little ability at the beginning of the game. And then on your turn, there's these cards on this board in the middle, and you decide which, it's like a goal that you're trying to complete. And you decide which one you're going to go for. And so the cards might say you need to have 3 different color keys, or you might have to have 3 completely different type of items that you're pulling out of these bags. And then you will choose a bag. There's like 5 different colors of bags, and you can see, you have a chart in front of you what's in those bags. There's skulls in every bag as well. As soon as you pull a skull out, you're done. So you bust. So you choose a bag, or you choose a goal that you are like an objective, and you'll put your little disc on it, and then you'll grab one colored bag and say, I'll grab the red bag, and I start pulling out. Oh, okay, I got a key. Perfect. I put my goal on the 3 different keys, and then you pull out a brooch. How do you say that again? A brooch? Brooch. Yeah. Like those little old-fashioned pins that women would wear or whatever. And then you pull out a coin. You're like, oh, I'm going to keep going. Then all of a sudden you pull out another key, and you're like, oh, I'm so close to this objective. Or do I stop? And you could sell these things over on this little market, and you'll get points for them. So I'm like, okay, well, so you have to decide, do I stop now? I could sell these things, get all these points. The thing is, if you don't complete your objective and someone goes on their next turn and they puts their card on your spot, they kick you off and you go back a point. So it's not like a huge loss, but if you don't push it to try and get those are like big points. As soon as you complete an objective, you get big points. So you kind of have to decide, what to do. Like, it's a push your luck. So the first time I got my objective, I'm like, oh, this is easy. And that came around to me. And it was probably 5 more turns that I busted 5 times in a row and got nothing. But it's basically, and then and if you do too much, like if you complete too many objectives, you start getting these wanted little signs that like, you're getting heard of, and people know there's this really bad criminal around. So then it makes it harder for you, because then all of a sudden the police will come, and however many of those you have, you're going to go back and point. So you don't want to be too good of a criminal at the same time as you don't want to just not do anything and not push your luck. It was interesting. Like, it's not something I'd probably buy, but it was fun to play and just fun to learn at the convention. But yeah, that's Swindler, my number 6.
Yeah, Swindler is really neat. The artwork is cool. The board is cool. Like, all the different bags you're drawing for. When Sasha came back from Essen, he came over. We had a game afternoon, and I played it then, and it was cool. Great. Nice pick. My number 6 is Astra And this was the first game I had signed up to play. It was published in 2022 and created by Patrick. Wow, I cannot read my handwriting this morning here. Porlax Lab and Frigis Chobel and Esther Christina Sass. And this one was interesting because you know what? It's not what I expected. Like it's because you take turn kind of like spending your Stardust to put kind of, I guess,
discover stars.
Yeah, so you kind of take control of a constellation and you, like, following a line, you would kind of use your marker to mark the areas that's going to be yours. And then when a constellation is done, then you get the card and it has an ability that you can activate, but it's worth points. And at the end of the game, if it's activated, you don't get points. So you want to make sure that it's refreshed or unused for the end of the game if you want the points. And then you also, like, there's a bunch of different tracks that you're building up on. So there's some stars in these constellations that has like a bigger, shinier, I don't know, like it's just a bigger star, and then those move you along on the one track that you can, and then that would give you more points as well. But then it also gives you more Stardust, so that when you refill your Stardust, you have more that you can do. It was neat. Like the look of this of the game looked really cool. It definitely has a great appeal to it. We played really slow. I think we just had a bunch of people that hadn't seen each other in a while and had just arrived. And I played with my friend Greg, and then we visited so much that it took us a long time to get through that game.
It was over 2 hours, and not a 2-hour game. I kept looking at the rules because I taught this game to you guys, and I'm like, what is going on here? I kept looking like, did I put the wrong amount of cards in there? But
no, so you kept coming around, says, okay, so how did the second turn go? We're like, we're still on our first turn. But it was neat. Like, it's neat. Like, the one thing I would say with this one is the pink and the orange marker, because they're all dry erase marker. The pink and the orange were really hard to distinguish apart from each other.
Yeah, it's weird they use those two colors.
Yeah. So it's kind of, like, I was kind of doing mine where I would, like, make my star into a star. So I would doodle an actual star, not just color the dot in, and try to make, because like, this one is mine. It's a big blob mess. But, and honestly, maybe do something like that would have made it a little bit easier. Somebody do, like, a triangle around the stars or something. But yeah, because otherwise it was a little difficult. Because after when the card activates, there's abilities at the bottom, and whoever doesn't finish it but has the most control over it gets to pick one of the ability first. So it was important to kind of figure out who was on the card and who had what. So then we're like, is that pink or is that orange? So then that was a little confusing. But so I mean, I guess get your own Sharpie, or Sharpies, not Sharpies. Don't do Sharpies. Get your own dry erase markers, and then get better colors if you play this game. It would make sense. Or, definitely doodle like a different shape over top of the dot. But this was neat. That was my number 6, Astra.
Nice. I got to play and learn Cat in the Box by Munuyuki Yukochi, made in 2022. This is a really unique trick-taking game because all the cards are black and they have no suit on them. Or wait, are they white? No, they're all black, right? I'm thinking of what color the cards are. They're all one color. It's either black or white, but they don't have a color, basically. And so and then you have this little grid in front of you of all the colors that you can choose them to be, and you have these little discs that you will put your color disc on what cards you're playing. So if I say, okay, like you'll have, it's numbered from 1 to 8. Well, I think we played 9. 4 players, so we took out the 9s.
Oh, right.
So that's only for 5 players. So it was 1 to 8. So say I had like 4 8s in my hand. I'm like, okay, because you have to guess how many tricks you're going to win. 1 to 3 at the beginning of the round. And so that's that's been done before, but so you place your disc on what you think you're going to get. And you'll still, the nice thing is you don't get 0 points if you don't get all the tricks. I think you still get some points. Whereas in some of those, if you don't meet that, you get nothing. But if you do meet, like say I did get 3 tricks, well then I also get more points for on the board, however number of connected discs I have of my color. So if I've connected all of them and I had like, I don't know how many cards we get, if it's 8 or something, but you never play the last card. But say there was 7 and I connected all 7, I'd get an extra 7 points. I did terrible on that part of the connecting. I was just worried about getting rid of my cards and not causing a, what was the term again? If you can't play, it's called...
Oh, you create a paradox.
A paradox. But anyway, so you play a card. Say I play my first one. I'm just going to be a jerk and play an 8 and I'm going to put it on trump right away to get everybody's trump out of their hand or something. Because red is always trump. So if I put the 8 on, I put my little disc on the 8 red, I'm definitely winning this trick. And then everybody's got to, play that. They could play a different color if they want. You don't have to follow suit in this one. But then they have to take this disc off their board and they can never play that color again. So they're probably going to want to play the trump because they're going to want to use it next time. So you go around, whoever wins the trick then leads the next round. And you just go on from there. And then once somebody can't play anything, they cause a paradox and it just ends and nobody gets that trick or any of them after that. So then however many you have, you'll get points. And if you, like I said, if you've matched what you guessed, then you get to add up all your connections on the board. And it was really neat. We we did play a full, because I think you play as many rounds as there are players, and we did complete it. I did well on the trick taking, playing the cards, but like I said, I didn't connect any because there was probably 3 or 4 rounds. Well, not 4, because that would have been the whole game. I think there was 3 where I did get the tricks that I had guessed, but I looked out on the board and I'm like, oh, I only have 2 connected there. So I wasn't smart that way about, planning that out to get more points. So I did not win that game, but it was really fun and unique, and I'll definitely have to search for that one. And that's Cat in the Box, my number 5.
Yeah, that one's cool. I got this one recently. We played it a few times at, for the first time there was at, Boardgame Bash of Blood. But, I mean, you're playing this trick taking and you're going to take and play what makes sense for the trick, so you don't think about, oh, wait, have I played something? Is that going to create a connection there? And then I ended up just creating paradox all the time. So when you create a paradox, all of the trick that you win, which normally gives you 1 point, gives you -1 point. So, this, right. Which is, I mean, it's a very interesting game. It's neat because you your cards can be anything.
Yeah,
so
make them anything. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, that was neat. And that was your number
5.
Number 5, perfect. My number 5 was a game that I had signed up for, and that was the first game we played on Sunday, and that was Honeybuzz. Honeybuzz was created in 2020, and it was created by Paul Solomon. And this one is one that I had heard mixed reviews about it. At first, I was like, oh, it sounds so good, it's so great. And then people had played it, I was like, I don't know, I don't think I really enjoyed that one. Or I was like, oh, okay, but I was like, I want to try it. So I played it. I loved it. I thought this was great. The components alone, are like the little squishy different blobs of honey. And you have this one is like a dark oval, and then this one is like a triangle pinky one, and then it was so satisfying just to have these little pieces. And this is definitely kind of an area control, I guess. You're creating these this thing in front of you, your own honeycomb or whatever, and then you're activating these different things, and then you would get these honey blobs that goes on your board. And then you can go and kind of fulfill orders in the market, and you can sell your blobs for money. But every time you sell, it brings the price down a bit and then never goes up. So it makes sense to try to get it early on, because you're going to get the more bang for your buck for it. And then later on, it's going to be worth less and less. But then later on, you're probably going to have more than just the one to sell. And the whole thing was great, and I really enjoyed it. And that's Honeybuzz, my number 5.
Yeah, that's such a cute game. All right, my number 4 is one I taught, but I got to play, and that's London by Martin Wallace in 2017. And I just talked about this on my top. I think it was in my top 20, actually. I love this game. We had put this one on the list later on because I had tried a couple and no one signed up. So I put this one. I was trying to put some older Euros on just because some people haven't got a chance to play some of the older ones. So I put this on and we only had one signed up. But that was late that we put it on. So I'd asked him, I'm like, well, do you want to play this or I can set something else up? He's like, oh no, I really want to learn this. So I put it out and then 2 other guys walked up and they're like, oh yeah, I want to play this. I'm like, perfect. Because then we had 4 players and that's the max for this one. So this game is so unique. I've never seen any other mechanic like it. You have a hand of cards and there's a board in front of you that you will place discards on. And then there's it'll keep your score as well. And that's all it's used for. And on your turn, you always have to pick up a card, but then you can do a couple things. You can either build your city. So that's just placing cards down in front of you. And once they are placed in front of you, that spot is always going to be there. So whether it's flipped or not, you're always going to have to count that spot. So playing a card, if I play a blue card, I have to pay a blue card to play that. Also, if there's something in the top left corner, you have to pay money as well. And then, so you can do that. You could build your city. You can choose to just pick up 3 more cards and that's your turn. Or you can buy these little boroughs that are just part of your city, but they just kind of give you an ability and some little bonuses throughout the game. The ability throughout the game, but you get these bonuses right away. And then you can only ever have one ability. So if you buy another borough, it'll just go right on top. So there's all different ways to get money and points, but the key is you have to control your poverty. And so what that means is once you run your city, so say I've built up 5 cards in my tableau and I'm ready to run my city. I will use a turn. You still have to pick up a card and then you run your city. So you go through each card and you can go in any order you want. And some will give you money, some will give you points, some will get rid of poverty and do all kinds of different things. And then you always have to flip those cards. There are some cards you don't flip. So then whatever you have on your tableau, say all 5 of my cards need to be flipped, I'd have 5 piles. And then after that, and I would have collected a bunch of money and things, then I have to count those piles and all the cards in my hand, and I have to take that much poverty. So that's at the end of my turn. I take the poverty, and then we just keep doing turns until the cards run out. And you have to really control your poverty because whoever has the least amount of poverty, which I ended up having the least, I think it was 13, then everybody takes those off theirs. And what's left, they get negative points for. So you're really, just trying to look around and try to keep even with everybody else or lower if you can. You're still trying to collect money because money's points at the end. But a lot of the cards have end game points. The ones that have high end game points are expensive to put down and play. It's a really unique way of playing. There's some cards that you have to burn another card in order to play it, which is good because sometimes you want to get cards out of your hand when you're running your city so you don't have all this poverty. And these 3 guys I played with were just awesome. I'd play with any of them anytime. We had so much fun and they picked it up so easy. And I think they all really enjoyed it. Well, I know 2 of them did for sure. I think the other one liked it as well, but we had so much fun playing this, and that was my number 4, London.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't really looked into that one so much, so sounds interesting.
It's you don't hear about it very much, but I love it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so my number 4 was Galaxy Trucker, and that was published in 2007, and it's created by Vlaada Chvátil. And this is one that because Sasha and his son were over, and then when I walked in, and Sasha's son is like, "Oh, you're the one who introduced Galaxy Trucker to me," and they had come over and played when we played Swindler. We had also played Galaxy Trucker, and his son had loved it, so they ended up getting their own copies. Now their copy is neat. It's a second version of the one. I have first version. This is a second version, and then they got one of those wooden insert, so everything is, which is great because you pull out everything and you're ready to play. It's ready to go. And this is just a really neat game. So you have your ship, and you've got all these tiles in the middle of the table that are face down, and you'll be picking one up, and then you kind of decide if you're putting this on your ship or not, because at first you only have like the middle tile of your ship. Some of them are going to have living quarters, so that'll give you astronauts. Some will have storage, so you can kind of collect goods on the way. Some will have shields, some will have lasers, some will have boosters, so you can actually go forward and all that sort of stuff. And you build your ship, and then different connection has to match to put them side by side. So there's certain rules you got to follow when you build it. And there's like a timer involved in this as well. So you start the timer, you keep going. And you don't have to flip the timer when you notice it's gone, but then when there's like somebody will eventually flip the timer, you keep going. And if you finish and you flip the timer, and then now people is like, oh my god, this is the last time, it's like you got to finish your ship as quickly as you can. Not everybody likes that speed, high stress element to the game, or at least not the first time. It grows on you. But it's neat. So you build your ship. Once your ship is built, then you're going to go through your trip, and you have these cards that are what's happening on your trip, because you're basically delivering goods from one planet to another. And you'll flip over. There could be asteroids. You could be attacked by aliens. You could come across goods that you can collect, or a different planet that has good that you can collect, and so on. Now everything can cost you time, so you would move backwards. And some of this stuff is going to cause for your ship possibly to break and get destroyed. And you're trying to make it to the end round. One of us broke down completely and couldn't finish their trip. But you're trying to get to the planet so that you can sell your goods and tally up all your points. All the broken pieces are going to count as negative points. So you're trying to build your ship as securely as you can, so having a lot of cannons and force field and stuff will help. But it is so satisfying, especially building the ship and then kind of seeing how far you can go. I really enjoy this game. I've played it lots, and I'm like every time it hits a table I enjoy it more. And that's where the fit to print sounds like it'll have a similar mechanism as well, so I'm excited to give that one a try when it comes in. But that's my number 4, Galaxy Trucker.
Yeah, I really like the idea of Galaxy Trucker. Just the whole ship parts, to me, I get lost on. So the fit to print is a perfect theme for me to... Because I'm like, what? There's rockets and I don't know where these things go.
Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of theme is... I don't understand all that part. Which is probably why, what was that big one we did play? It's like not Twilight Imperium. What's the other one like it? Oh. Maybe it was Twilight Imperium, but there's another one. And it was like, oh my gosh, all these like ship parts that you had to build I'm like, I don't have a clue. But anyway, yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to Fit to Print. All right, my number 3 is Habitats, made by Corné van Moorsel in 2016. I just got the recent edition. He redid a version, and it's really pretty and nice with nice new colors and tiles that I kickstarted and received. And so I set this one up because Sunday morning me and Ashley were both teaching all day as well, and I'm like, are you teaching and playing? And she said, no, I'm just teaching. And I said, I am as well. I was teaching Anno 1800. And I know that one, once you teach it, like you pretty much like they might have a couple questions, but I'm like, why don't I set up a game over here? And once you're done teaching, we can maybe get a little game of this in before our next game we're teaching. So we played this one quickly, and it's so fun. Literally, Uwe Rosenberg says he's taken Nova Luna from this game. So it's kind of a reverse way of doing it. So this was like a full game, and he took it and pulled it out into an abstract strategy game, which this kind of is, but it has way more theme and more going on. So he took the short part out of it, which was just connecting the tiles, and just made it into like a themeless game. Which I love that game as well, but this one almost has taken it over because it has the added like animal theme. So what you are doing is you are building up these tiles just like you are in Nova Luna, and you have to connect tiles to other tiles in order to like put your discs on and complete the tile. But how you collect tiles is different. You have a grid in front of you of tiles that you will draw from a bag once you've pulled one or once you've taken one. But you have these little Jeeps, and so you drive around this grid, and you can only take a tile that is in front of you or beside you. You can never take a tile that you left from. So if I take a tile, I have to move my Jeep ahead and then put a tile in its place. And so wherever the rear end of my Jeep is facing, I can never take that tile. And it's quite neat because you have to kind of plan your route because of what you want to put in your tableau. And then you build up these tiles. But they're not just colors. They are habitats and animals and flowers and tourist attractions and tents and towers and all these different things, and they all want different patterns. So it's quite a bit more than Nova Luna, but with a theme. And I could have backed these screen printed animal meeples, but they're really not necessary for the game. So I know you're all shocked that I didn't back those, but the only thing they're needed for is when you complete a tile. And people were having trouble fitting them in the box. So you almost had to have 2 boxes carrying around if you bought these, these extra animals. So I didn't. I just kept it as it is, and it's still beautiful. And you just put these little discs on if you complete your tile. But I don't think the animals were really necessary in this one. But it's tile laying right up my alley. Animals, you can't go wrong combining those 2 things together. You'll always get me. And that's my number 3, habitats.
Nice. Yeah, I saw that one was set up kind of just sitting there, so now I know why. Mm-hmm. My number 3 is Scout. Scout was published in 2019, and it's created by Kei Kajino. And actually, I got to play Scout twice. The latest version, and then a previous version that was made. Like in the previous version, the cards are really nice. Like they're plastic cards and very slippery and stuff, but there's no point markers to kind of keep track of your score as you go. So I like both. Now I have the newest version, but I mean both. And actually I would say the original version. Was it Asmodee's the original version? And then Asmodee did the first one. Now it's Oink Game that's done the last one. Mm-hmm. But the Asmodee version has really nice bright colors. It looks really great. But with this one is interesting because you have your deck of card that you start with, and you cannot sort them. So you have your cards in front of you. Now, at the very beginning of the game, because each card has 2 numbers on it that faces it different ways, but you can see on the bottom of the big number what the number is on the other side. So at the very first, you can kind of look at your deck and say, okay, do I want to play it this way? Or flip it over, or do you want to play with these numbers? And you're trying to see what gives you the best kind of set of cards, because you can't sort them, but you got to play your cards the way they are put together in your hand. You can play, pairs or runs, but the run has to be in order, whether it's ascending or descending, but they have to be in order, so they have to be together. So be like, no, actually I'm going to play it this way. That makes more sense. And then you're playing, and what's happening is you'll play, let's say I play a pair of 2. So if somebody's going to beat my pair of 2, they would have to play a pair higher than 2 or a run of 3. So as soon as you add an extra card, that makes the previous thing that was played, it beats that. So if he plays let's say a run of 3 and they play 3, 4, 5. So they play 3, 4, 5. They would take the pair of 2 that I had and they put it face down in front of them, and now those are points for them. So let's say the next person looks at 3, 4, 5, and they can't really play on that right now, but then they can scout, or they have to scout. So they would take either 3 or 5. You can't take the middle card, but they can take that card that they're going to scout. Now, the person whose card gets picked up, they'll get a point for having their card scouted. But the person who's scouting will be able to put that card in their hand, anywhere in the hand, on either side. So maybe it was a 3 on this side, but that side is a 7 and actually fits just perfect here, so put it in their hand. And once per round, you can actually scout and play. So where you scout and then flip your little car over and then play again. So every time you play higher than what's been there, the previous cards goes face down into points. If you can't play, you scout and you add that to your hand. If you ever play such a big round that people are scouting and it comes all the way back to you, that triggers the end of the game or the end of the round. And or if somebody plays their last card, that triggers the end of the round as well. Any cards left in your hand, if you weren't the one who triggered the end of the round, those are negative points. So you got to pull that out of the points you've been collecting, and then you tally up your points. And then you'll be playing the next round, and you do that for every number of players, the number of rounds that you play. And it's fun. It is neat. I really like this game. The more I play it, the more I like it. And I like the games that you don't sort. They're in your hand the way that they are. This one reminds me a lot of Delt as well, which is another great card game. But yeah, so that was my number 3, Scout.
Yeah, Scout is so good. I love that one too. My number 2 was Wayfarers of the South, made in 2022 by S.J. McDonald and Shem Phillips. Now this one I got to teach twice at the convention, and I got to play once. This was the second last game I played on Sunday, so it was our second game of the, like we did one in the morning, one in the afternoon that we could teach. There was 2 slots. This was in the afternoon, so we had a full 4-player. We did have 4 originally, and 2 ended up leaving early. They just had to get going, but then 2 more jumped in on the game, so it worked out perfect. There was 4 of us, and we ended up playing, I think it was a normal time. I think we were done before the 2 hours, for sure, including the teach. They were all learned very fast, and they were fun to play with. We played with a couple, and then another guy that he had taught for me as well at the convention. So very smart people, but we had a lot of fun with this one, and it's such a unique game too. It's his new series. He's doing his South now, the Garfield games. They did the North, the West, and now they're doing the South. This was the first one, and he's used dice. Now, he doesn't use dice as a main mechanic. Like, he's used it in Raiders of Scythia and Raiders of the North, where you have to roll for battle or whatever. But this one, it was part of the main mechanic, because you could either place a worker or you place a dice. And the workers will go out throughout the board, and it's really unique because you have this board in front of you that has this huge journal track, but around the whole board are these worker placement spots, and there's a card tucked into each one. So at first you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? But so you would place a worker on the card, nothing to do with the card, it's the slot the card is in, that's the worker placement spot that you're getting to do. So there's all different things you can do. You can get cards. There's all different colors of cards. There's townsfolk, just like in all his other games, that will help you. You can buy these upgrades that you'll put on your board, where you have this little caravan that you're trying to fill in all these upgrades that will give you certain symbols for each dice that you use. Because when you place a dice, if on the card that you're placing it has a symbol, you have to have that symbol available from that number. Some of the cards have blanks, so you can put any dice on there, but it's really unique, and there's such a combination of mechanics with the dice placement, the little polyomino on your caravan, the worker placement, and then you're trying to build up your tableau, because you try to build these cards of land and sea, and then space cards on top, so like sky. So it's really unique, because the ones that are at the bottom give you dice placement spots, and then you can put townsfolk underneath them to improve those spots. On the top are the space cards, which give you end game points, and then you're going to get these inspiration cards that'll tuck on top of them that will multiply them if you can complete them. All different kinds of ways to get points. There's a journal track in the middle that you have to move up, and that's how the end game triggers, is once someone gets to the end. There's just so many ways to victory in this, because you can really work on, one thing. You can't just do one thing in this. You still have to do some of the other, because you can't build space cards if you don't have anything underneath it. And there's like multipliers for all different types of symbols on your cards, all kinds of things. And it's such a great game. But yeah, that's my number 2, Wayfarers of the South, Tigris.
I want to try that one. That's cool.
Yeah.
My number 2 was Endeavor Age of Sail, and this was my second time playing it. I had played it the first time at FallCon, I think back in 2018. And then I've played this one again, and this is such a good game.
Yeah, good.
So it's created in 2018 by Carl the Visser and Jarrett Gray. And you have this big board, and on the board you'll have a bunch of locations. Now, in the middle is kind of like the open area, and you'll have ships and you'll have cities. And then on the outside, you have these different region, and you can't take control in the region until the little track has been kind of filled in that opens it up. And every round, like, you have your workers. It's a worker placement game, I guess. So you have your workers, and you be collecting these buildings that kind of gives you different things. And you have these tracks, for gold, which allows you to rehire your workers back so they come available again. Because if you can't hire it back, it clogs up the different actions you can do. Like, they stay there and block it up. So you want to hire them back. Then you can increase at the population, the number of workers you'll have, and then you can increase, like, all these different things kind of give you different, like, better abilities as you move up. Then once you get, like, really up, it also gives you more victory points as well. So it's important that you move those up. And then you'll be kind of doing these things. So you take over and you'll put your cube on this city, and then you put your cube in this boat, and then it's the whole area control aspect that's kind of going on. And if you ever control two that are connected with the line, well, then you would actually get to collect the token of that, because you're collecting the tokens as you're taking control over these areas, and then these tokens are going to get added and move up your tracks as well, and kind of just make you a little bit better. It's really neat. It's really fun. I really like this one. It's like, I know I played it with Cherry. Now, Cherry, I think, was her first time, and she got set up where she was like, okay, well, I'm obviously not going to win this, so I got to go help with meals, and then so she ended up leaving. But then I played it with Michelle and Lisa. Michelle is used to do the podcast All the Bits, which was a really good podcast. So, and the first time I had played it was with Michelle and Lisa as well, so it was kind of neat to play with them again. Such a neat game. I if I ever come across this one, I had it in my hand at one point. I was like, ooh, do I buy it? And now at the time, I really didn't have the budget for it, so I put it back, and then I kicked myself a little bit for putting it back. This is a neat game. So that's my number 2, Endeavor Age of Sail.
Yeah, it's a good one. I didn't notice, did she have the upgraded chips?
Yeah.
That makes it so much better.
Yeah, it really does.
That's how we played it too. Awesome. All right, so number 1. So my number 1 is not a typical game I would have in my number 1 spot. It's an elimination game.
Oh.
But we played this at the very end. Most people were gone, and there was, let me think now, there was 1, 2, 3, there was about 8, 9 of us left. Maybe 8 of us ish. And we pulled out this game, and I'm like, this would be a good one that we can all play. And, and then one guy had to kind of get going. I'm like, okay, well, you can be the first one we'll kill off then if need be, right? So we start playing this game, and it's, I don't know if I mentioned it, Royale, The Island, it's called, made in 2020 by Addict, Kankorer, Tuna Pemir, and Merrick Tanzer. So this is a card game. And so you start with a hand of cards, and they're just resources. So they're either apple, wood, gold, steel, rock. I can't think if there's another one in there. But anyway, so you have these resources, and however many you have in your hand is your life as well. So if I think we started with 6 or 8 or something. So you start with that. But what you can do with these cards is you can build all these different items. Now, at the beginning of the game, well, I'll explain how this works first. You can either build items like guns and bullets, or like there's one that it's like a runaway, where if somebody attacks you, you can run away. So it's like a free getaway kind of thing, just one time. You can build traps and all these different things. But there's also these escape cards that they give you, like a raft. Say you could build this raft. And it's worth about 4 points. Now, if you ever get to 10 points, 10 escape points, you win. Well, the guy beside me, it was first time, and I'm like, he goes, oh, escape points. I'm like, nobody ever wins like that, because someone will always burn down the raft, or they'll like get rid of that card so that they can't build up to the 10, right? So as we're playing, we're building all these different things, and it's funny because a lot of people just buy the bullets even though they don't have guns, but they don't want the people with guns to have the bullets. So you have a whole bunch of bullets in front of you with no guns, and then finally one will come up and you can use it. But because you can direct, then like usually you'll build these things and some of them will stay there forever and you might have to spend different things to use them, or some of them will just be a one-time thing. But so we kind of went around, and I had done something to one of the guys, and it made him miss a turn. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I felt so like, yeah, I just made you miss a turn. And not that anyone was powerful at this point, but then it came back to my turn, and I had a chance. There was 2 people left with 2 cards, and I could have killed them. And I'm like, oh no, I want the game to last a little bit longer. Well, the next turn beside me, the guy who I told about, you'll not win that way. So he did kill one of them, and I forgot that you get all their items when you kill them. All their items and all their resources. So I'm like, so he got all these things and then just started attacking everybody. And then and so basically you win by escaping, or if you're the last man standing, right? So I'm like, well, is he going to be able to kill everyone? But as he started killing people, he got all their things. And so he got all the escape points from them. So he just escaped. He didn't even have to kill everyone. And meanwhile, I'm like, you're never going to win that way. So me saying that to him was like, I'm going to do it. This is a challenge. And it was so funny. And I don't think he even knew that once he killed someone, he got all the items. It was just like, oh, okay, well now I have all this stuff. I'm going after you. I'm going after you. And it was hilarious. But I said, no, that's going to be tradition. If we do car con again, that'll be our last game of the con, and we'll try to, whoever's left will get to play, and I will have no mercy next time though. Whoever's playing. Mercy.
Didn't pay off.
If you're down to 2 cards, you're gone. If I can get you out of there. But it was a fun game, and it actually went really quick because we forgot all about, oh yeah, now he gets all those cards. Now he gets all those, and then all of a sudden he had the escape points and he won. But yeah, that was my number 1. Board Royale, The Island.
Nice. I think I might have played this one.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
It's neat. It comes with
one that sounds familiar. But I remember the time I played, I was like, I did all these actions, like, oh yeah, this is so great. And then I was like, oh wait, I forgot. I've used up all my cards, almost all my cards. And then I was like, oh no. And then I got killed.
Then you're a sitting duck. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's neat because it comes with, I remember when the Kickstarter was on, I had thought about it and I'm like, I'm not really into like elimination games, so I didn't get it. But a friend had backed it and he brought it over and we played it, and he had all the expansions. There's like all these different decks, so you can add like these military figures that give you abilities, and there's all different things you can add to it. We just played the base, I think, on Sunday, but
nice. Yeah, I got so caught up in what I was accomplishing, kind of. It's interesting. It's an interesting balance, right?
It is. Because you're like, oh, I want that. Oh, yeah, I can afford it. And then all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, what did I do?
I only got 3 cards.
And that's where it reminded me of like that epic PvP, which I just got a copy. I picked it up at Carla Con. So I haven't played it again. But because your deck that you draw your cards from that you'll be playing for, and you can draw as much as you want to get like a really powerful hand, but your deck is your life. So you're slowly killing yourself. It's an interesting balance. All right, my number 1 is the last game I had signed up to play, and that's Wonderlands War. It's published in 2022, and it's created by Tim Heisner, Ben Heisner, and Ian Moss. And this game gets tons of hype, and it's warranted. It's a really good game, and it's really interesting the way that it all works, and then you're kind of because was it deck building? Kinda, and then you're kind of sending your guys in your control like in these different areas, and then like at first I was like, I'm not really sure what's going on, and then I'm like sending a lot of guys in this one area because I'm trying to battle there because I think my card is saying I get a bonus if I win there. But I wasn't sure, so I just sent all my guys in that most one area, and then I ended up winning it. So I was like, I think I've accomplished this then. It was like, yeah, and so it worked out. I played as Alice, so everybody had like different abilities. But you're drawing from a bag, so you're adding these things into the bag. Yeah, it's not cards, it's tokens that you're adding. And then you pull out, and then depending on what you got, and you place it onto your power. So if you pull out, say, okay, well, this is a 3, so then your power for that battle goes up to 3. But you're pulling these out during the battle. Now, the more you pull out, these aren't going to be in there for your next battle, so you keep that in mind as well. But then you also have these bad cards that kind of goes and clutters up this area, and if you ever bust in that one, then bad thing happens, but like the whole thing was very interesting. I did enjoy that. Definitely would have to play it again. I think it was like a big debate at the end. It's like, is this player overpowered? Because they all have different abilities. I don't think that any one character kind of strike that as like, well, there's no way to beat that one as player is overpowered. But
did you use the green one?
No, it was Alice.
Okay. Was anyone a green one?
No, I think Sherry said she wasn't sure how that one played too much, so she just didn't set it up.
Yeah, I think that one, we've never played with that one because I think it is over. There's a new rule to it, but she didn't have it just to even it out.
Because we had the Cheshire Cat, and then the Mad Hatter, and then I was Alice, and I forget what the blue character was.
Alice last time, and you got to move around opposite way of the
you go in the opposite, which is neat, because then you're collecting all these different things. And so you have like this rundown that kind of creates the different things you can do, and then you have the bag building. Like, there's a lot really going to this game, and you have like this whole area control battle thing that goes on. So, but it was neat. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. So that was my number 1, Wonderlands War.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, it was a success. I think everybody said they had a wonderful time, and I'd asked if we did it again, if they'd want to be on the list, and they said, oh yeah, for sure. So I think we will try it again at some point, for sure.
Yeah, and I want to mention, like, having that you were providing the meals and all that stuff, that was neat, because you provided meals and drinks and snacks. So, because you're packing, and normally it's like, oh yeah, I need to go back. I was like, oh no, I don't. I don't have to do that. Yeah. That's right. And then I got the donaire for my meal, and it was amazing. So what's the name of your restaurant again? Cyril's, right? Yeah, so Cyril's in Red Deer. If you get a chance, the food is really good.
Yeah,
so
everyone loved the food. It's huge portions. Like, our portions are ridiculous. I'm always saying we got to cut back because I throw out a lot of food, but some people appreciate the big portions.
Yeah. You know what? And I like having my, to take home, and then,
Uh-huh. Yeah, so, then people had some stuff to take home too.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. That worked out really well. But yeah, so yeah, no, looking forward for you to do that again. Now, before we call it a day, our next one is going to be route building. We believe we haven't put the list together. I'm hoping I have 9. I have never looked at how many route building games I have played, so we'll see. Now, be sure also to join our Discord, and we'll put the link to the Discord in the notes as a way to kind of chit-chat and have a conversation with us and other people that follow our podcast. And then, Carla, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at Boardgame Specialist, all one word, and have a Facebook page, Red Deer Board Game Fanatics. What about you?
So I am also on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room. My Facebook page is Mel's Board Game Room, and my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. So thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Thanks for listening.